One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Gordon Hammers.
Present.
Janet Wright. Present. Phil Fowler.
Here.
Jerry Johnson.
Present.
Jan Hedlund. Here. Mary Johnson. Here. Emil Susu. Eric Berger. Mike Rubalcaba. I have 3 absent and 6 present.
Okay, so a quorum is present. The acoustics in this building are very poor, and therefore we request that you only speak when recognized by the chair. If somebody wants to carry on a conversation in the back, you're going to be asked to leave. We just don't have the acoustics to be able to have everybody hear. Does everyone have their copies of minutes of the last meeting?
Yeah.
Chair, entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Wait, I don't have a copy. Wait.
Pass that down.
Did you print yours out?
Sure.
Okay. Let the record show that Emil and Mike
Okay, so we have 8 present, 1 absent.
Oh, yes.
Eric.
Eric's mother died, and he has a house full of company and will not be here this evening. The motion to accept the minutes?
I haven't had a chance to review them. If you give me a few minutes.
I emailed them to you on the 14th, so
I have not had a chance to
We'll come
review
back to
them.
it then.
Thank you.
You are expected to read the minutes before coming to the meeting. Okay, discussion, possible action, and correspondence. We have item 1, the ZAP 079W2 and 3. I received 3 in the mail today, and it's a replacement for 2. And for the Chapmans. And is there anyone who would like to speak concerning the Sprint Nextel tower? This is strictly a modification of what's happened before. Larry, do you have any idea what the minor change is?
I think it was on a sound wall, just put up, that was a minor change.
Okay.
Was put up and make sure it's desired.
Okay. And we've approved this several times before, and we keep making minor changes. And
I make a motion we continue.
okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And it's been seconded by Phil. Roll call.
Gordon.
Aye.
Janet Wright. Present.
It's a yea or nay.
Aye. Phil Fowler.
Aye.
Jan Hedlund. Jerry Johnson. Mary Johnson. Aye. Emil Susu.
Aye.
Eric, excuse me, Mike Rubalcaba.
Aye.
Okay, we have
Emil's
8
vote is strictly
ayes.
advisory at this point.
Okay.
Okay, the form 534 will be filled out showing the vote and will be sent in to the planner of record. And I will not be keeping a copy of that form. Item 2, acceptance of a petition and correspondence with Barbara Chamberlain. This is concerning the petition. I have written an evaluation of the petition, which you have in your packet. Looks like this, and it is included with her correspondence to me, my answer to her, and her correspondence back to me. As a summary, the number of signatures on the petition are 303. Approximate population of Potrero is 900. Number of registered voters as shown, in Potrero as shown, is 430. We know that this number is high because it contains names of people that have died and moved away. Estimated valid registered voters are approximately 375. Number of signatures, registered voters on the petition are 118. However, there are some signatures of people that have lived in the community for many years and are not registered voters for technical reasons. That should be counted. And when I say technical reasons, there's a few of them I think that are felons or that type of thing. They're upstanding citizens of the community, but for technical reasons they cannot vote. Also, there are newcomers that soon will be registered voters that I felt should be counted. I have therefore adjusted this number up to 125. My summary is whether we look at the numbers from a total population standpoint or from a registered voter standpoint, the results are about the same. The petition represents approximately 1/3 of the community. However, we know that Carl Myers and others went door to door and worked very hard to get every signature possible. We also know that some people signed the petition based on misinformation and would not sign it if it was circulated today. That notwithstanding, I think that 1/3 of the community is a valid assumption. So I have put this with the petition, and I submit it with the petition. Barbara Chamberlain has asked that, based on the petition, let's see here, let me just come in. I'll read her front part. We, the 300 plus people, Potrero residents who have signed the petition, respectfully ask that you revote on the Blackwater West proposal and vote no on their request to establish a military-style training facility in Potrero. We feel Blackwater West does not belong in Potrero because of the following. And then she states her reasons. I have consulted policy I-1 as to under what conditions we can reconsider a item that has been previously acted upon. Basically, it's the receipt of additional information. If additional information has been received by the body, then we can review the petition or the vote. Therefore, in looking at this based on the other factors, as well as the fact that we now have a petition that says 1/3 of the community is against it, I will open the chair will be open to a motion as to whether we want to accept the request to rehear the question.
I request.
Okay, it's been moved by Jan Hedlund. Do we have a second?
Well, I'll second it. It goes along with what we've done.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we will take this under review. Has Jeremy from the DPLU shown up yet? Jeremy? You're here. Okay. Would you please stand and you have another person from DPLU with you?
Yes, we do. This is our chief.
Okay, and you're going to be recognized. Very good. Glad to have you with us this evening. Would it be possible to receive another form 534 on the Blackwater item that we can fill out? Because there was the missing, the issue of the missing form.
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay. We will schedule that then for an upcoming meeting where we will review this, and we will have to vote on the question. First of all, discussion. Our original motion contained the clause that we would have the a live fire noise test. The live fire noise test got canceled. I really think it's important for the community that we have a live fire noise test. I think we need to find out for sure. You know, the consultants say that no noise is going to be coming up out of the valley. I think we need to have that for sure, and you know, I would like to make sure that that is on the resubmittal on the question, should it pass.
Chairman,
Yes.
there were some environmental concerns too about pollution. I think that should be in there too.
Okay, are you referring to the environmentally sensitive people? Okay, so you want the prevailing wind study for the Serranos, and also and also for Harry Malloy's environmentally sensitive compound over there. So if we should pass this and reconsider it, those items would be on the consideration for the future.
Okay, so noise test, environmental wind study, Serrano and Malone.
Correct. Okay, we'll have to vote on whether to accept the petition, and the vote would also include the summary, which would then be able to be released to the press as our review of the petition. Will the secretary call the roll?
Board Member Summers,
Aye.
Janet Wright,
Aye.
Phil Fowler,
Aye.
Jan Hedlund,
Aye.
Jerry Johnson, Mary Johnson, aye. Mike Rubalcava,
Aye.
advisory vote, Eric?
No.
Not Eric, Emil, same letter, sorry.
Okay. So, we are going to be taking this up then at a future meeting, probably July. We've scheduled Duncan McPetridge for July as well. He's come up with a 20-minute program that I've agreed to have for that particular meeting. And so those two items will be on the July agenda. Okay, item 3, nomination of board member for unacted on seat of Emil Susu. The Emil Susu's seat was never acted on by the County Board of Supervisors. And Emil, you have re-registered to vote in San Diego County, is that correct? Emil was voted in Florida, or registered in Florida, was it? Okay, so you've got your registration card?
I'll look at my passport, okay?
You have a driver's license?
I make a
He took
motion.
it.
I make a motion that Emil be reinstated as a board member.
Renominated.
An oversight that it
Nominated, okay.
I also got my new letter for training again. I sent May 1st.
Your pink slip.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Emil
Who was the
be
second?
nominated. Val? Okay, do we have any other nominations?
I have one comment. They said, I was talking to Cheryl Jones, and I'm not sure if this applies, but she says, for policy, I won the person who received the most votes. Well, we're nominating him. It has to be an appointment by the Board of Supervisors, not the planning group chairman.
That's correct.
Does that mean what you're doing is not considered an appointment? I mean,
We're nominating.
We're
Nominating,
nominating
okay.
the board.
all right.
And according to our standing rules and most protocols, if Emil were not to accept the nomination, then it would go to Ed Barilla, who was the next highest vote getter in the last election. Okay, will the secretary please call a roll concerning the nomination of Emil?
Okay, those in favor, please say aye. Gordon?
We have to have the roll call. Okay,
Gordon?
aye.
Janet Wright?
Aye.
Phil Fowler?
Aye.
Jan Headlam?
Aye.
Jerry Johnson? Mary Johnson? Aye. Mike Rubalcaba?
Aye. Yeah, okay, I vote.
And vote for yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 votes yes, 7 ayes.
Okay, and you'll need to notify Cheryl Jones of the nomination.
Okay.
Okay, number 4, letter of Ray Lutz's to DPLU and the county's reply. Mr. Lutz was unhappy with the way we were conducting our meetings. He wrote to the County of San Diego with a number of recommendations and questions. They replied to him. He was not particularly satisfied with their answers, and so he wrote them back another letter, and you have those in your folder. Basically, the county told them the same thing that we told them, and so our policies stand.
May I speak to that issue?
Yes, sir.
My name is Raymond Lutz. I'm with Citizens Oversight, and I did write these letters with regard to the one issue. I don't want to go into all of them, but the key issue was the ability for people to speak anonymously in a meeting of this type. The Ralph M. Brown Act, passed in 1953, governs how these meetings are run. In that act, it states that anyone may attend the meeting without signing in. It also states that anyone, a member of the public, may speak at a meeting to anything on the agenda or during the public comment period. Logically, you could say that since you didn't have to sign in and you can speak, then you can speak without signing in as well. The rules that this group has adopted says that you have to sign in order to speak. I raised this question with the State Attorney General's office. They gave me a verbal response saying that indeed you do not have to reveal your identity in order to speak if that's what you'd like to do. I raised this up at other community planning groups, Elkhorn City Council. They all admit that you don't have to reveal who you are if that's what you would prefer doing. In this case, we have a group with a reputation for dealing with force and intimidation, and so people were somewhat reluctant to reveal who they were. Since the body here is still reluctant to allow people to speak without, I'm sure they all know who most people are here anyway, but if you didn't want to reveal it for the record, then I would still advise the body and the chair to allow people to speak anonymously if they request to do so. I will continue following this up with the State Attorney General's office until I get it in writing, and I will submit that to you. And at that time, I hope that you will comply with the law. Thank you.
Submit to the County of San Diego. We follow their rules.
Could I speak, Mr. Gordon Sherman?
Yes.
I feel very offended as an American to see that this man doesn't want to comply with the rules of this meeting. He is an outsider of Potrero. He has no business being here. I would appreciate if you don't offend me anymore.
Okay. May I respond?
No.
No? Okay.
One moment, please. With respect to the anonymous issue, Zoe Roselle has filed a suit against us. That is one of the items in the suit. And in talking to county council, They've indicated that it is up to us to make those rules, and that if we want people to identify themselves, we can. If they don't want to identify themselves, then we have the right not to let them speak. However, they've indicated that it is a gray area in the law, and I am not allowing unidentified people to speak because I want the judge to decide which way this is going. I'm not going to back off. Zoe has brought as a legal issue, and I'm content to let the court decide which is correct. To me, it's part of the Constitution, constitutionality, that if somebody is making an accusation about somebody, that that person has the right to know who is making the accusation. And that's our standpoint. There is people who are trying to chip away at what I call the Constitution, but I have been told that that's up to our board, and until somebody tells us otherwise, that's the rules that we're going to follow. Ma'am, please identify yourself and speak.
My name is Kirsten Lamham. I live in Campo. I was at the scoping meeting. I heard Mrs. Wildy say that the eagle was on her property and not on the Blackwater property. And I'm from Campo. Am I not welcome here? Does someone who cares about the eagle or about the Cleveland National Forest, do we have no place here in your mind, Mrs. Wildy?
No place here.
Okay, I want to cut it off there. You're off subject, and I'm not going to let this meeting wander. I
I'd
think
like to comment on the fact that we've been following the rules of the Board of Supervisors in all our proceedings.
right. If you go down to the Board of Supervisors, you've got to do the same thing that we're doing here. Ma'am, please identify yourself.
Excuse me, I'm Shannon Davis. We have property, we fear, within listening distance of this, but it's technically in Pomona on the other side of Darrett at the very end of Dearborn Valley. And we can see down into this area from the top of our property. And many people have invested over there in beautiful homes, and they have businesses there, and livelihoods and life work. And they're on the fringe and the edge of the southwest corner of the Cleveland National Forest. And we think if there's a lot of noise coming from ammunition, that we're going to be impacted by it as well. But there are a number of environmental impacts that are going to happen to this area because you're so close to the Pine Place wilderness of the Cleveland National and the Hauser wilderness of the Cleveland National Forest. And there are a number of endangered species protected by the Federal Endangered Species Act that are attached to that region. And you're on the perimeters of that. And so there is cause for concern for everyone because that land adjacent to this and surrounding this is everyone's land.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to emphasize to everybody that the County of San Diego has a requirement that Blackwater must meet. It's not optional. It's a must. That noise at the property line has to be down 50 dB. The noise tests indicate that minus 50 dB can be heard at the gate to their property. By the time you get to the cattle guard at the end of the pavement, you cannot hear 50 dB down. By the time you get up to Horizon View, you can't hear anything at all. Now, that is what the sound tests so far are indicating. This is why this board wants a live fire noise test to validate the consultant's noise studies.
May I ask if you do request a live noise test like that, that you include the neighborhoods respectfully across Barrett Lake, across the valley from you?
the noise will either be able to be heard outside the valley or it won't. And it's not a matter of whether it can be heard another 3 miles away or not. The requirement is that the noise cannot come out of that valley, period.
May I, because it's my letter, with this issue of who the planning board is supposed to be listening to, I'm sure the people from the Department of Planning and Land Works can verify this. Policy I-1, which is the policy that you're supposed to be running to, states that you're supposed to listen to concerns of the public, members of the public. That means you don't have to live here. It means you can live in Hamul, you can live in any concern of the public is supposed to be brought to this meeting. To say that we live out of the area and so that we don't have a concern. People may want to say, well, it's my area, so you guys don't have a concern here. Sorry, that's not what the policy says, and so I would encourage you to follow the policy that you're
Okay,
under.
thank you. Now, I'm going to cut it off there because all questions need to be directed to the board. I don't want, one party debating another party. All items and discussion will be with the board. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Roxanne Arisby. I'm property owner of Horizon View. On May 2nd, some friends of mine who live in Barrett and Barrett, they often do target practicing down there with 10-gauge shotguns. It's a totally enclosed area. I received a phone call that they were going to be practice shooting for about 45 minutes to an hour. I recorded that from my front door, and I have a copy of that. It's very clearly heard, and that's only a 10-gauge shotgun.
Okay.
And they're farther away from me.
The property is posted. No one is supposed to be going down there.
This is not on the chicken ranch. This is private property owners at Barrett, not the chicken ranch.
Okay, so it's not the same place.
It's the same distance, but there is buffers
Okay.
on their side.
We're
on
only
the
concerned.
hillside,
We're only
and
concerned
there's
about
no-
noise being generated down at the range sites.
Correct. What I'm trying to get the point is, there's an unobstructed tunnelway between the chicken ranch and my area.
That is why we need a live fire noise test.
And I have the recording of a buffered noise
Okay.
test.
That's well and good, but I'm only interested in a live fire noise test coming from that valley. I want us to be able to either substantiate the consultant's computer modeling or not. That is my only concern. Shooting in the rest of the other areas is not our concern.
I have a question.
Yes.
May she submit that to the board and/or the county as evidence of some sort?
It's not complicated.
It's
Well-
most definitely comparable.
Could we ask that of Jarrett Ramaya and Glenn Russell?
Well, first of all, it's somewhat hearsay. If she wants to submit it with the names of who was doing the shooting where, pinpoint on a map, along with the audio tape, then I would accept that for consideration. The fact that somebody was shooting down there to me, is hearsay, regardless of whether you have a tape recording or
All
not.
right. Then I strongly suggest that's what you do.
I also have witnesses that were with me at the time.
Okay, and I would want their statements as well in writing.
Chairperson, can I speak to you? I live in Horizon View, and I did not hear that shooting. I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay. I'm starting to hear conversations in the background here, and we're starting to get off the subject again. I want to remain on point and move along. Also in your packet, you have a,
I have a question about the live fire test.
yes,
Does that only matter in terms of the 50 decibel county requirement, or does it matter in terms of the wildlife there? If all the wildlife goes away because there's going to be live fire there continually, does that matter?
Of course it matters.
How will it register? Are you watching the wildlife? Is someone going to be watching the eagle to see if it comes home that night? Or, I mean, like, how do you measure
They
this?
have a very extensive environmental plan that they are working with the county on. We have not seen the final product yet. We have been told that they are considering all those things. I have been told that they have studied other eagle habitat around the country. There is an eagle habitat at Cape Canaveral between the launching pad and the runways. They have an environmentalist on staff there at Noyak that manages their wildlife issues. They have studied or are in the process of studying eagle habitats elsewhere. And I have been told that they're going to be, in the product that they submit to the County of San Diego, there will be a significant element in there concerning their management of wildlife and endangered species. Until we get that report, we have no basis of judgment.
No, my question has to do with when you run that live fire test, is there some component of the live fire test beyond measuring the 50 decibels or whatever decibels of the different radiuses? Is there any component of this test that tests the wildlife as well? Does anyone watch the wildlife? Does anyone care? Does anyone look? Does anyone hear?
The 50 dB down pertains to all sides of the ranch, not just the populated side of the ranch. Therefore, the 50 dB down pertains to the wildlife as well.
Right, but are you watching how it affects the wildlife? When the test is run, will the wildlife be included in the test?
They're going to have, I don't know the extent of their environmental studies that they're turning into the county. Once those are turned in, we will have a chance to evaluate those and draw our own conclusions. And I'm really looking forward to getting those because I'm interested in those kinds of things as well. Yes.
If the wildlife are bothered by the potential of noise coming from the Blackwater facility, then why aren't they bothered by other people shooting their guns in the area, like in Barrett or in the fields or here and there? No, I mean, and a lot of people are actually shooting at the wildlife. Not at eagles, but I think you said wildlife, not just eagles.
Okay, Billy, I recognize you first, then the lady standing. Billy, go ahead and identify yourself.
My name is William Marcoli, and I'm a Potrero resident. I wanted to comment on the firing around there because I'm a conservationist and I hunt down there, and I haven't fired a shot down there in a year because I haven't had the opportunity, but it was pretty quiet down there normally.
Yes, it is. Okay, ma'am, state your name.
Hillary, my question, last time when we talked about the live fire test, you said that we had to sign up to be part of the listening group. Is that still going to be the fact with this next one if we get it?
That test got canceled.
Right.
And it's totally out of my hands now.
Okay, but if we do get it again, will we have to sign up again to be able to put in our what we hear to the county?
I have no idea, ma'am. I had some discussion with Blackwater concerning it, and they have indicated that until they get things resolved with the property owner, there's not going to be a live fire test, that the property owner will not allow it. We've talked to them about the possibility of them having their insurance carrier issuing an indemnification to the property owner. They've talked about the possibility of bringing in a gun club rather than having locals shooting. One of the objections is that locals running around with firearms and the liability of that. So they've talked about possibly bringing in actually hiring a gun club or a police department or something of that type to come in to do the firing and have an media event and have the media there to witness the event. Certainly, under those circumstances, locals would be invited to observe. Okay, Don?
What about just a 50 decibel recording of live fire? I mean, they've got to have that from the Wild facility. Something that's at 50 decibels, and they could just bring down there a big speaker that would be at 50 decibels and just let that go off. I mean, it seems a lot safer, a lot, you know, for all kinds of reasons.
The problem with that is that the speakers are directional.
Yes.
In all directions and see what happens. You know what I mean? Because that's what's going to keep it down there. I mean, put them where the live firing ranges are going to be.
But that's certainly an option. I'm interested in how accurate their computer simulation is.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Item 5.
Look up, Gordon. Look up, Gordon.
Oh, okay, Brenda.
I just wanted to go on record is that the day that the last noise test was scheduled for, that was canceled, I was called that afternoon by one of my neighbors saying, I thought they canceled the test. I hear them, and there was no shooting. And I'm afraid that might be something that will happen on the regular time, that we'll get reports of things that aren't happening. There was no fire test down there that day, and I did get a call saying that they're going on with it. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That's absolutely correct. There was somebody out there too.
Out there, where is there?
In that direction, I
Right.
cannot pinpoint it. It came from the canyon. I inquired as to whether or not the test was taking place. I recorded it.
Good.
We didn't hear it.
Okay.
We must listen.
Gentleman in the back.
My name is Bill Davis, and I'm from Dearhorn Valley. And I have 2 questions. One, does the Pine Valley Planning Group have any responsibility to the Cleveland National Forest wilderness area, the proposed Hauser Wilderness that this property touches to the north?
I have no idea.
You're aware that the property touches a proposed wilderness area, federal wilderness? Talking about Hauser Creek, proposed Hauser Creek.
He meant Potrero.
All I know is our planning group area, and where what their jurisdiction is, you'll have to check with them.
So even though this particular parcel touches the wilderness area, you're not so concerned about that?
We can only deal with private property.
Okay.
Private property.
I'm sorry. It's this, just, and the other question was, I've read that there's going to be 8 to 10 rifle ranges and 2 to 3 pistol ranges, and up to I don't know how many people would be using each range. Would you test all 13 sites with multiple weapons for this decibel reading?
I wish I had a crisp answer for you. I hope that they could do that, but I would be happy to get a simple live fire test and then worry about whether how complete it was. I can tell you that the noise coming out of that valley is probably the most single important issue to this community.
Thank you.
Mr. Coward.
My name is Steve Coward. I live a couple of miles from where this nightmare might happen. I would like to recommend to the planning group that you strongly urge whatever powers be that will control this test to have, in fact, all those firing ranges going at once, simulating the situation that will, in fact, be in effect every day of the week at that place. That would be an accurate test. Having 1 or 2 shots going down is not relevant and will learn nothing from it. Thank
you. And I think your cause of concern is well stated. The important thing to remember is that any live fire test has to have enough shooters to make it viable. The problem that we run into is that the actual ranges themselves, when they are operational, are ranges that have 10-foot berm all 4 sides. There's think of it as a U with a bar across the top. So there's a place where you can enter from the side of the range. The interfacing walls of these berms are all coated with a sound absorption crumbled rubber. Automobile tires have been crumbled and placed there on a suitable water protective liner, that type of thing, for noise absorption. I can tell you that based on other ranges of that type that I've been at, you could carry on a normal conversation outside the range, within 100 feet of the range, at a normal voice, and all you could hear in the background were pops. Now, am I willing to accept that? No, I want to have something to say, okay, this computer program is valid, or looks like it's valid, or it's not. And we went on record as saying we want a live fire noise test. My position hasn't changed, and I know that if the conditions are permissive, that Blackwater is willing to do it. And I'm saying, let's go for it. And I want to stress to everybody that 50 dB down is all parts of the property line. That is a county requirement, whether it's up against the Cleveland National Forest or whether it's up against some neighbor's property. It is 50 dB down at the property line. Mr. Stevens.
My name is Ross Stevens. I live in Potrero. Can't you put on your approval of this to the county that caveat that you would not approve it unless they have a live fire test?
We had that on the original 534 form, and it got lost somewhere. And we had a live fire test set up. It got canceled, and I think we want to be on record as stating that we still feel that way. Yes, sir.
San Diego. Just for the record, who will be conducting the test? And are there assurances that it will be representative? But just for the record, who will be conducting the test?
We don't have it scheduled yet, therefore we do not know. And all we're saying is we want a live fire test. Blackwater has looked at it. They're willing to do it. However, nobody is willing to do it the way it was originally scheduled to do because of the potential liabilities of locals running around with firearms. Ma'am?
According to the project proposal from the county, this is Blackwater West Training Facility, what you described in the shooting target areas, it doesn't fit the description that they listed. And this is their proposal.
What's that black thing on the front?
That's where they're shooting, and it has a metal roof, and it's not enclosed. There's no sound barrier.
Bring me the sheet, please. Let me show you. On that triangle, trapezoid shape there at the bottom.
Yeah, that's an open berm. It's not surrounded by anything.
That is a cross section of the berm. And the black area is where the crumbled rubber is.
Yes.
And that's where they're shooting into.
But that's not what's making the noise. It's the rifle that is igniting that is making the noise, which the rifle is being under the metal roof, which is going to ricochet sound. They can burn until their heart's content. That's not what's making the sound.
Thank you for your input. Okay, we've dwelled enough on this subject, and we'll move on to number 5. Concerned citizens of San Diego. You have a copy of that correspondence in your packet, and this is one of my favorites. You have it handy? There, yes. Dave made a second. Mr. Hammer, what kind of kickback are you getting for giving your preliminary approval for Blackwater plans at Potrero? You are now on report, so be aware that we, the people, are watching your actions very closely now. If any type of personal gain is involved, we plan to find it and expose you. Time to start thinking, Mr. Hammers, about your future decisions regarding Blackwater and Potrero. Signed, Concerned Citizens of San Diego. Now, you know, I'm a concerned citizen of San Diego. And I haven't seen any of these people at any of my meetings.
Amen.
It is a threat.
There is an envelope came with it. They were nice enough to have the return address. And my good friend Rob Pianavilla, who is a private investigator in Camul, is finding out who this anonymous person is for me. I do plan to write them and thank them for their input, and I have nothing but contempt for people who don't have enough guts to identify themselves. I'm sorry, folks, but you know, I stand up here and I take the crap from everybody. Everybody knows who I am, and I don't let the anti-people, their differences of professional opinion become a personality conflict. And you know, anybody in this community can be straight up front with me at any time, not having to worry about any kickback, flack back on it. And I really take exception to these people who try to use these kind of tactics. To me, it's garbage. Okay, we also have several other letters. There was one from Rancho La Puerta concerning, and I don't know whether it's in your packet or not, but there's several of them that were concerned about the helicopters that are going to be causing a problem. And folks, there are not going to be any helicopters. There are not going to be any helicopters. There is a pad there for emergency purposes only. What they do in Moyoc has nothing to do with what they're going to be doing in Potrero. There is not going to be helicopter training operations there at all. We have a letter from Mr. Ryder. I've misplaced my copy of it.
I think I have I'll read it out loud.
Okay, Jen?
All right. May 4th, 2007, Chairman of the Potrero Planning Board, Mr. Gordon Hammer. Request for reprimand and censure in the case of Board Member Jan M. Kendall. I have a question. Can I respond to this in the midst of the letter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As a property owner of property on Round Potrero Road, I have been following the proposed Blackwater project very closely to see what impact it might have on my property and me. I find it disheartening to find that Ms. Jan Hedlund, a board member, writes newspaper articles in the Backcountry Messenger, May 2007, and the San Diego Union Tribune, April 19, 2007, without first checking her facts to ensure they are correct. It appears she bases some of her article's points on hearsay or innuendo. As a private citizen, I do not want her writing articles with my name unless she has my permission. I will get your permission from now on.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Thank you.
As she did in the Backcountry Messenger, claiming that I was for the Blackwater project. In her next article, I would like to have her set the record straight that I am neither in favor of nor against the Blackwater project until I have all the facts from the EIR that is being put together for this project by the county. I have a copy of a letter that you wrote to the county on April 20th that says you are not opposed to the proposed law enforcement and military security law enforcement training facility. So does that mean you have changed your opinion?
Not opposed, that's not in favor of, and that's not against, that's not opposed.
Okay. In her Backcountry Messenger and San Diego Union Tribune articles, she states that there was a noise test firing on March 17, 2007, which is a Saturday. Had she checked out her facts instead of listening to hearsay, she would have found that no live firing test was conducted on that or any other day to date. I was told by somebody at the at the Potrero Community Church that Gordon had mentioned they had a preliminary noise test and that no one heard it. That's what I was told, and that's why I placed that in the
That was
article.
not March 17th.
Okay, then I got the date wrong. That there had been a preliminary live fire test. That's what I was told, and that's the date I was given. If any firing was conducted, it probably came from Coyote Holler or Horizon View, because that is normally where the gunfire noise comes from. In her San Diego Union Tribune article, she claims that there would only be low-paying jobs. I know 2 individuals that have already applied for jobs with Blackwater should they be successful in getting this project approved. And because of their backgrounds, I am sure they will be well-paying jobs if they are hired. One of their main motivations was so they didn't have to drive to San Diego to go to work. How many other Potrero residents are looking for the same opportunity? I might add that I am not one of the individuals. In an email recently to me, Mr. Hammers requested that I start naming names of my sources, and I suggest you do the same thing of these 2 individuals. In her San Diego Union Tribune article, she talks about a 400-foot helipad. Had she done some research, she would have found that the actual size of the paved helipad is only 35 feet with a clear area out to 350 to 400 feet as required by the FAA. Regardless of that, on the project description by Blackwater West, all it says here is a 400-foot diameter helipad. This is from their own project description, and that's where I got the information from. And last but not least, she is an elected Potrero Planning Board member that is supposed to base her decisions on the facts presented to her and not on hearsay or innuendo. She is also supposed to abide by and support the laws and regulations of the federal, state, and county governments. If she is so worried about Blackwater complying with all the applicable law and regulations, I would like to know why she time permitted by the county. Does she have a legal septic system for her raw sewage, well for potable water, electrical power to the property, and adequate brush clearance? I have adequate brush clearance. My RV is completely self-contained. I have potable water, and I have solar energy. In view of the above, I request that Jan Hillman be reprimanded and censured for her articles, and if she is not in compliance with all laws and regulations that apply to her property, she should resign her position on the board or correct the problems. He has every right.
Jen, I'm sorry, they could say the same exact thing about Gordon and being pro. All of us could say the same exact thing about him as far as being accurate. He says, oh, everything is great over Moyoc. Oh, I wanted more for Potrero.
That's his opinion.
That's this man's opinion, and that's perfectly fine.
I heard that was the same exact thing.